down.
All right. Well, that sucks. Everything we just did apparently didn't. Let's see. Yeah, everything we just did apparently didn't happen.
Okay, so you just slid the thing over.
Yeah. Okay. So, hello again. I just spent 10 minutes doing an introduction that apparently never happened due to a poor connection of some kind. So, to recap, again, we're going to be making this floor tile, rotten wood, essentially, and, kind of swampy looking, and I think I'm going to be building a swamp game board pretty soon, so that's going to be for War Machine, so that's going to be handy. Let's see, what else? What else did I just say? Tang. Oh yes, the drink for tonight is a tequila sunrise made with Tang, and so it's remarkably delicious. So if you want one, you should go get one. Call it a Tang sunrise. So anyway, about the foam core. This is black foam core, and it is notably different than white foam core. And the reason for that is it has a grain that runs one way and not the other. So I can take a pencil for a floorboard and I can split it pretty easily with my pencil. However, that is not the case going this way. It just sort of makes a crease. And so in that case, we're going to need a knife to actually split it to make separate boards. So yeah, but you can get this stuff at the craft store. It's usually sitting with all of the other foam boards, and it's pretty nice stuff. It's black, so you don't have to base coat it with anything, which makes it really nice. But anyway, yeah, if you like tonight's show, hey, come on over to the tabletop spot, join up. We'd love to see your own take on this, if you have one, and see what you're up to otherwise. So let's get started on this thing. And what we're going to do is basically we have to draw the boards first. I've already, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera real well, but I've already just drawn alternating notches. So 1/2 inch board here, 1/4 inch there, 1/2 inch there, 1/4 inch here, just to give it a little bit of visual interest. Where's my ruler? There it is. And so we're just going to go through. Nothing terribly exciting yet, but we will get there. Oh, and if you make a mistake just like I did, don't worry, it'll look good later on. Because wood, as it ages and gets worn out and rotten, makes kind of cracks and it rots, and we're going to build all of that stuff right into here. And then we're going to make it a little moldy, and then we're going to probably add some static grass to it using my homemade flock box, which is always fun. And if you have questions, feel free to speak up. Oops, I wasn't supposed to make that line, but that's okay. We'll get it to blend in eventually. Then what we want to do is, where's my screwdriver? There it is. So anyway, like I said, this stuff splits and it spreads in one direction really nice. And I just take a flat blade screwdriver, and if I want to spread the boards out a little bit, I just run it in each direction once, and that makes a pretty nice gap in our boards. And that'll make it easier to separate the texture as well when we get to that part. Because you don't want your so we're going to texture it with a small wire brush like you'd get in the plumbing department. Usually they come in, at least around here, they come in packs of 2. The steel is a lot more aggressive because it's steel and there's copper that has a lot more flex to it. We're going to use the steel because we want it to cut deeper, and the fibers are small enough it really does actually cut the foam rather than tearing at it. And if you want a different texture to it, like more of, instead of like where the moisture has gotten in and maybe it's split the grain a little bit, you can use one of these this came out of the painting department. It has plastic bristles instead of steel, and what that does is it will, instead of cutting the foam, it'll do more of an impression and just sort of texture it instead. So a couple different options if you want to go that way. Alright, so getting back to this. Let's see, in D&D scale, this is probably 25 feet worth of, it's 5 feet long, so 25 feet worth of floor space. I, for one, don't know of any floorboards that are 25 feet long, and I've been in home improvements for quite a while. So we are going to make some cuts. Pretty randomly spaced. Trying not to cut the one next to it.
Any idea for knots in the boards?
Knots in the boards. You know, I had not even thought about it. What could you do for a knot? A knot is part of the structure of some wood. So, and there's not a lot of knots in this structure here.
Justin says it's hard to tie wood.
Yeah, it is hard to tie wood. But, I tell you what, let me think about it as the show goes on. And if I come up with something, or if someone else has an idea, feel free to share if you desire. And I hope the cutting of styrofoam is not too annoying on speakers. And what you can do, like here, with my pencil, this one I did on purpose. But the ends of things, that as wood ages, it tends to split on the ends, and so you can, draw different little splits, whatever here and there, with your pencil. And I tell you what, this stuff just separates so easily. Something sharp wouldn't even do enough. So yeah, split here and there. We'll make a couple on the ends. Maybe you can have it curve a little bit.
That's black foam core, question mark.
Yep.
I think I missed the beginning, Justin.
Black foam core. That is correct.
Where'd you get it?
Joanne Fabrics. So my lovely assistant Renee, also my wife, is reading off your questions, so I don't have to pay attention to 2 things at once. It's really nice. Let's see here. Alright, so we got our cuts, we got our different board lengths, and so we're going to use the screwdriver again just to sort of make separations in here.
How did you remove the paper?
I just peeled it off. It's not as easy as, say, dollar store paper, but I've heard that a hair dryer can help, although I didn't do that. I just peeled it off. It came off in strips, and so It took a little while. I mean, yeah, it took definitely more effort than say dollar store foam core did, but in the end it was just fine. It took a little more effort. All right, so we got that. Then we're going to take our wire brush and we're going to try to start. We're going to try to do all the individual boards themselves, and we're going to, it's because if you do this, I mean, you know, individual boards are not going to share a grain pattern. That would just be dumb. So in order to try to get it, if you're in a hurry, you can do it that way, but you know, one scratch, there it is. You know, and the more worn and the deeper you want the cuts, you know, the more you're going to do it. Like I made that pretty deep. And then we're going to just do the next one. And every once in a while, the brush will leave a really deep cut, and that's good because this is a rotten, swampy. You know, this would probably be a good hut to come across inside a swamp somewhere if you're playing a D&D game or something like that. Or if you're in my D&D game, there will be some kind of dragon hiding underneath a rotten floorboard or something, and he'll kill you. And by my D&D game, I mean one that I play in. Because I thought I was a smartass when I finally got, what was it? What's that level 4? You can cast a hut or something. We're like, yep, living large now. Until the dragon came by and blew our house down. And as you can see, the harder you press, the deeper these cuts get. And you can take it on the edge if you want to really like pull up a few grains. You can do that, and that adds some realism. And we can actually go ahead and do that as well. And because it's foam core, one thing I think I mentioned the first time, but not the second, was you know, it's pretty flexible. So I'm not going to mount it tonight, but eventually it'll have to get mounted to a piece of MDF or something like that. And it's just, you know, it's basically cardstock holding it together. So pull the dust off, and all of a sudden we have rotten floorboards, or at least we will. Right now we just have some shredded foam. So we are going to start the painting with raw sienna. And my brush. Yuck. And we're going to give it a base coat of raw sienna. Not completely covered. We want some of the black to show through, but you know, we can give it kind of just a light brushing. And if you happen to get a little too much in one spot, we can go through that. We're going to use probably 3 or 4 different colors on this, so you can always go over it with something else to mute it, should you desire. Oh, one thing I forgot. If you want these, you can do some more weathering by picking out individual strands, because this foam is pretty well separated now, and you can just pick out almost individual pieces and pull them out of there. And then you can have rotten pieces that are gone and have gone the way of the dodo, as it were. And we can put plants that are, growing up inside those, or in the cracks, or what have you. So just another effect you can do. And I just use the flat part of the knife to do that. And if you want, let's see, where's that accidental split that I made? So we're going to say this one just has split completely right down the middle and is totally rotting away. And what's left is a pretty convincing, just rough area where maybe the rotten wood has settled, or dirt has gotten in there, or rocks, or whatever. But so yeah, so now we'll just finish painting the thing. Okay, you don't want it evenly covered. In real life, it would never be evenly covered. Then we're going to go over to burnt sienna, which is more of a red. And you don't even have to be all that careful about not mixing them. And randomly, just give it some brush strokes. Try not to cross over boards when you're doing it, but at the same time, it's not terrible. It really comes down to just how careful you want to be with it. And I want to mute some of these areas that I went over too brightly with the raw sienna, so I'm going to give them some red. Get something down in there. So that's starting to look pretty good. Then our third color is going to be raw umber. It's a pretty dark brown, and it will finish it off. No, wait, we have one more color. We have gray, because it really wouldn't be a paint job without dry brushing gray, right? Okay, so starting to look pretty gnarly wood. And where did I put my gray? Thought I had it out. Evidently not.
Can we get a close-up of the effects?
Yeah. Who's asking?
Justin.
Fine. All right. Yeah, close up, sure. See if I can zoom in here properly. There. How's that?
Move the camera down by there. That's better. No, angle it again one more time.
What, down?
Nope, do what you just did.
Down? Well, if I zoom in much closer, it's going to be...
Zoom in.
How's that?
No, zoom in.
I am zoomed in. It's covering the whole screen.
No, it's not.
On my screen it is.
Oop. Okay, stop.
Okay.
Now, scoot.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you just moved it.
Right there. So I will endeavor to keep it in the frame.
He says, ooh la la.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. That's perfect.
All right, good.
That's right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Got it. That's what she said. I couldn't help myself. All right, so we have Longbeard Gray. We're going to give it a hit of this. And so, just real quick.
And I do like this because you can see what you're doing better.
Okay, that's fine. If I'm out of frame, though, let me know. I'm going to try not to move it too much, but sometimes, you know how it goes. Things move around. Actually, we're almost done with this portion of it anyway, so we are going to move on to... we're going to add some mold to it. Moldy, rotten floor. Let's see here. Alright, so that kind of mutes it. You know, wood as it ages grays out. So, there we go. And I think we have 4 different colors in there. Gives it a fair bit of depth, I think. Mm-hmm. And let's see, what else? So we're going to go with one trick. So I want mold growing in a corner here somewhere. And this is... Createx has a line of wicked colors, they call it. And this is Detail Moss Green. And it is one of my favorite greens ever.
That sure looks good, a little warped though, says Justin.
Oh yeah, I haven't mounted it to anything yet. And it needs to be mounted, but I'm not going to do that tonight. And so I just put some on my palette. I have an old toothbrush from... Okay, so life lesson. Let's just stop here with a life lesson. On Halloween, kids do not want toothbrushes. They want candy. So don't be that guy or girl.
My dad takes it for tools.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly correct. All right, so I've got some green on my toothbrush. I am going to simply flick it on here. And it's not really getting in there very well. And it takes a little bit of doing. There it goes. Okay. But it's splattered. And if you look at mold on wood, it tends to look a bit splattered. So that is exactly the effect we're going for. Now if I can just manage to hit the corner instead of the rest of the thing, we'd be all set. Okay, so we're going to leave it just like that. And now we're going to add some static grass. I do need to zoom out for this though, otherwise no one's going to know what's going on. Yeah, right there. Okay. And so here we have the flock box, and let's see if we're on camera here.
Brilliant use of the toothbrush, Justin.
All right, so got wires tangled up. So here's the flock box. I was practicing on it the other day. When you're using these, it is really difficult to, they don't work very well unless you run your grass through a sieve of some kind, in this case a wire colander. It just doesn't pick up because the grass tends to clump together and it needs to be loose for these things to work very well. Otherwise you just have problems. So this is 4mm, what is it? 4mm summer. So green, basically, with a little bit of red and some yellow. And so it's got a couple of lumps left in there. We can just sort of force them through. And then we're going to take our glue, which is nothing more than Eileen's tacky glue, which I'm sure we all know and love, or at least know. And just dump it on some paper. And we're going to try it and pretend like we know where grass is going to grow. I just got a giant toothpick here. So I'm just going to pick out some cracks, get it in there. Doesn't need to be very pretty. Get a clump in there. Am I still on screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's see here. Maybe we'll get something going between the boards. Whoops, I smeared. That's okay. And then we're going to take the probe, or whatever you want to call it. We're just going to shove it right in to the side of the foam. Turn it on, and so you can have a lot or you can have a little, and it all depends on how long you're going to hold it over this thing. So you can hear it working, and there's our grass. Didn't take long, and it actually looks like some of it started sticking to the paint, but that's okay. And if you don't have one of these, you may not know this, but the grass will tend to turn it off here for a minute. The grass is going to want to face the direction. If you know anything about magnetic fields, they're shaped, kind of round, and the grass is going to follow the shape of the magnetic field. So if you have it off to one side, the grass is going to point a certain way. That's okay if you're looking for wind or something, but we're going to try and straighten it out. So, alright, well, good enough. And that's all for the block box. Oh, another thing is if you know how to wire, you can take a wand, just plug it into the side, and you got a shaker at the same time. So that's pretty cool.
You can't see your shaker very well.
Oh, sorry.
Put it right over the block box.
How's that?
No. Wait.
There. How about if I go with the camera?
Yeah, that way. Yeah.
And that's just PVC, some kind of Tupperware thing with a top, and the wire just goes right from the screen all the way through here, comes out the back, and this it looks like two wires, but it's really one. I got one of them cut off, and then it just plugs right into the side. for making tufts, or if you got a mini or whatever you want to use it for, but I normally just use the box. And I got a YouTube video if you want to learn how to make it. Okay, so there's that. Looking a little overgrown. And we're going to keep going with that with Super Turf. This is pretty good stuff. And it's basically, it's a certain kind of foam. The name escapes me at the moment. But it's really porous, and it's a really good effect, in my mind anyway, for leaves and foliage and that kind of thing. And we're going to try to find our, well, looks like a bunch of grass stuck to my green moss, or my green paint. So we're just going to kind of clump that in there with it. And coming up on the end of it here, I have a dropper bottle of 50/50 Elmer's glue and water, and just a drip or two of Flow Aid from Liquitex. So it tends to get in the cracks a little better, and we're just going to drip it on there. Yeah, and so it flows pretty well. It seems to have a lot of surface tension if you don't put the Flow Aid in. And that might be okay in some instances, but if you have fine detail, I like to get it flowing a little better. And luckily, glue shrinks a lot. And I'm almost out. I'm getting bubbles. I gotta make some more, but that'll hold it in there for now. Let's see, I think we're coming up on the end of this here tile, and if you want, I'm a big fan of Hearst Arts. I love these things. You can take a bucket or something and stick it there, or a bag of wheat, or a bag of something, and stick it there. Or maybe your party encounters a mimic box. You know, just for fun as they're falling asleep. So there you have it. That's the tile. Not terribly difficult. Once you get the procedure practiced, it goes pretty quick.
Zoom back in.
What's that?
I'd say zoom back in.
Oh, zoom back in. Sure, we can do that. So there it is. Not dry yet, but if you saw the pictures that I posted of the prototype that I did, that's pretty much what they look like. And if you wanted to, you know, I didn't think of this. I still don't have an idea for the knots though. I didn't think of this, but you could make a few different versions, and then you could cut out different pieces, and then you could have them sort of mate together, and then they could interlock and be seamless instead of having a seam right there. So either way, just an idea. Maybe I'll try that and get some pictures of that up later on. So hey, if you enjoyed this, yeah, join the group. Love to see what you're working on and see your own take on this. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off and probably finish up my tang with tequila.
Set it right next to the piece of wood.
So, thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. Thanks.